Hold on, something seems kind of weird with your video here.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's going on?
Oh, that's right, you're Australian. Give me a moment. That's
Of course.
better.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, friendos. This is Chain. Welcoming you back to Chain of Commander. It is the fourth Tuesday of the month, which is our monthly visit to the recruitment office, where we take a look at actual Commander players and their actual decks to see if it's something that'll work for you. For this month's visit, I have possibly definitely one of the first people I met in this content creation business. One of my most international friends made so far. Might as well have him introduce himself. So, who are you?
Thanks for having me, Shane. It's been exciting to see the whole journey. But yeah, I'm of course Sam from Commander Crunch. We're part of or myself and a fellow called Cheshire. We do a little podcast every week, which is just talking to the Commander community and celebrating all things community, culture, and creativity, and have a wild time. Sometimes go a little bit off the rails, so sometimes a bit of a language warning on there if you're listening, but it's all fun. But yeah, get to feature great guests and what makes them tick, and also a lot of real life topics as well, including of course Chain. Chain's been hung out in the Commander Crunch headquarters virtually, as we've done mostly this year. But yeah, it's been an amazing year to figure that out and put a lot of energy into something we love, and as I've said, Chain's journey as well. We've of course spent a lot of time on the interwebs and sharing deck lists and having great times over Spell Table and everything. So yeah, excited to be here, and thanks so much for allowing me to show off one of my favorite weird creations for sure.
No, I'm definitely very excited to talk about this deck list you kind of shared with me. Now, before we get into it, I do want to say, if you folks out there, if you enjoy weird deck lists or just seeing what people out in the real world like to play, definitely consider subscribing. Love to have you folks join us going forward. And for your convenience, I will have a link to Sam's deck list below, in case you want to check it out and maybe draw some inspiration of it. That said, Sam, who did you bring for us today?
I brought, and I know you said don't show the cards up, but I'll show just this one. This is Skeleton Ship. This is my baby. This is a weird card I remember seeing quite a few years ago. It's from Ice Age. It's on the reserve list. It's very special. It's got the craziest weird art you've ever seen.
No, yeah, that art is pretty banging.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
It's Amy Weber and Tom Weinerstrand, and it's skeletons on turtles and dolphins and the ship, and it's just a ship shouldn't be a creature, but it is.
Everybody's having a good time.
It's not particularly great, but it's it's a clunky 5-mana creature that puts a -1 counter on things, and then also the other bit of text: if you don't control any islands, you must bury it, as they say. Almost got me in trouble once or twice, but I just try and run a bunch of islands to make sure that doesn't happen. But anyway, a lot of people would overlook this creature because it doesn't seem that powerful, and it's of course. But I'm just so in love with the art that I made it my personal challenge to make this into a deck I love, and I think I've done it. For sure.
Oh yeah. So why? Like, what inspired you to actually make this deck?
I think it's most things it's a challenge that it's like if anyone thinks something's a bad card, I'm ready to make it happen, and not that anyone called out this as a particularly bad card or anything, but I don't know, it just looks like it. I know a lot of people would think it's probably not possible, that kind of thing, and yeah, just want to give that art some justice and do it right. But it's also a boat, like it's a skeleton and that kind of thing, so I have seen
now all the boats are all vehicles. You don't get
exactly, and it should be skeleton ship, creature type skeleton ship, but I think it's just skeleton. So I've seen people make skeleton tribal, other weird things, but mine takes a bit of almost like a twiddle route, I guess you call it. So tapping and untapping for sure.
All right, so like let's go into that twiddle approach that you kind of do with tapping and tapping. So. Was there a specific thing that called you to twiddle? Did you like start the deck first and eventually turned into twiddle tribal, or were you like, I like twiddling? So
yeah, so there's a few ways I've taken it. I did V1 about 1 or 2 years ago, and it was pretty much just all Dimir good stuff I love, because I play a Rexial deck, and I've got like some favorites I love, like Sepulchral Primordial and Spelltwine, that kind of thing. I just love playing other people's stuff, and I thought that's on theme for a pirate ship. It's fine, it was good, but I was like, how do I really, I could do any Dimir commander to do that. How do I really use Skeleton Ship's ability? And I looked at it as like there's a couple of -1/-1 counter synergies which are fun. But then how do I take it further and then put things in a deck that kind of really use tapping, untapping, especially if Skeleton Ship's not around. So Skeleton Ship's great to have there, but if there's anything I can replace it with. So there's kind of two big mechanics at play. I think the best one is, first of all, is using any kind of turn to frog effect. So I think I've got 3 or 4 kind of abilities here where you just turn everything on an opponent's side to a -1/-1. To a base 1/1 creature, ideally with no abilities, so you can hose some gods. So if you can make a god a 1/1. Actually, in fact, it's fine anyway. -1 counters are powerful because they can delete indestructible anyway. So that's a good one. So yeah, Mass Diminish, Polymorphous Jests is one of my favorite cards. It's so silly to hose someone when they're feeling really strong. You make everything into a frog. Vidalcan Humiliate is a really funny one. It's that on a stick. It attacks if you've got 3 artifacts. It makes everything into 1/1.
Oh, yeah.
Sudden Spoiling is also a great one. It does make things 0/2s, so you've got to do one more step of damage, but same kind of thing.
It's got Split Second, and if there's any card that kind of gets people out of nowhere, it's Sudden Spoiling. I've gotten several times in my Commander history.
Yeah, so I've always looked at that card. I'm like, I know it doesn't completely hose all their creatures straight away, but often it's just a situational thing where it completely ruins someone's day. So it's great. But the other part was just creatures that also want to be tapped and untapped. So there's a few ways to do it. I can put Viridian Longbows on things. I can put Thornbite Staffs on things. That's a little combo piece. I can put a Paradise Mantle. It's one of my favorites. Springleaf Drum, I think I had in the deck. I've got to put back in or something. Anyway, there's some really interesting stuff you can do. Tapping stuff and then untapping stuff with like Penman's Aura, Freed from the Real. You're getting a little bit like combo here. And then doing it on, I think there's some key creatures that I love to do it on, which is Fellow Sage is one. Whenever it's tapped, draw a card. King Makar is another. Absolutely amazing.
Start exiling thing. It makes them
exactly. And I'm not usually a big infinite combo person, and I would say the combos I create in this aren't technically infinite because they just rely on having creatures on the board, but can usually build your own one-sided board wipe with a King Makar. Tap on tap. You can tap it for mana with Paradise Mantle, Freed from the Real, and you're going off essentially because it exiles a creature, makes a gold token, yada yada. The other one,
the gold token, do it again. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's a funny time. People will groan, and you're like, "Yep, I'm playing Skeleton Ship." That's right. The other one is, where was it? I kind of just missed it. It's a card I've always wanted to find a home for, and I finally did, and I love it. It's one of my favorite cards in the deck. Arbiter of the Ideal, and I think it's from Born of the Gods. The weird Sphinx.
Yeah. I had this guy in Hydar for a little bit before I found that there were mana issues in the deck and he had to come out to lower the curve. But yeah, no, this guy's neat.
Yeah, it's super nifty because when it becomes untapped, it's a 4/5 Sphinx for 6, and when it becomes untapped, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's an artifact, creature, or land, you just put it on the battlefield. So you're cheating things on. There's ways with like Tidal Elemental, I think it is. Is that what it's called? No, Tidal Force, sorry. To untap or tap something every upkeep. So then you're really going off, and I had that happen in a game yesterday where I just, you get to just churn out lands, and next thing you know, you're a ramp deck. There's lots of little ways to tap and untap, which are really great, and I don't need to go through all those, but some of those are just a wonderful little like combo engine going, and then adding those with a piece like something like Kalidas is a good one that I had to remember why it was in the deck, and I just realized. So whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it exiles instead, which I always love as a bit of incidental graveyard hate. But
Indeed.
You make a zombie, and then a big part of the deck is Intruder Alarm. So creatures don't untap during their controls untap steps. That's fine. Whenever a creature comes into play, untap all creatures. So this is an absolute engine for the whole deck, because there's a few other ways to get that little interaction going where something dies, you make a thing. So Nest of Scarabs and Blowfire Infestation are 2 ways to do that. Blowfly Infestation being one of the grossest cards I think I've ever seen, like visually.
Yeah, those two work together so well.
Oh yeah, and so Nessus Scarabs makes a whenever you put a -1 counter on something, put a what is it? Create that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens. Essentially,
Yep.
Yeah, so that happens. Blowfly Infestation just goes, if something dies with 1/1 counter on it, put another 1/1 counter on it, -1 I should say. So there's all that going on. It's one of the only decks I kind of run a little bit of tutoring for. And I say that, and I think I've only got a Vampiric Tutor here at the moment, but I could run more just because often you need...
That's still like the tutor, isn't it?
Exactly. And I open this with some Commander Legends stuff. I'm like, this is where it belongs for sure. So, yeah, that's... Sometimes you need that fourth piece of the janky 4 or 5 card combo or something. So
yeah, Jank decks is where I put my tutors these days. Like, I have my powerful decks with tutors, but now if I have, like, an extra tutor laying around, it doesn't go in any... already decent deck. It goes into the jank deck to make the jank work.
Totally. So what often the game plan is anyway is, there's plenty of board wipes or bounces, that kind of thing, because I think they're necessary, especially if they have boats in them. I think that's the flavor. I'll always preface in this deck, if there's a flavor win to be had, I'm going to have it. So for one is like put Pirate Ship in there. I need to get Pirate Ship and replace the Thornwheeled Fairies with that because it's a boat and, flavor wins overall.
Full-blown Pirate Ship, yeah. What's the best boat in the deck right now other than...
Other than the Skeleton Ship? Ooh, I considered putting like Conqueror's Galleon in there, but it's as a vehicle because that's another way to tap my things. But I've got Smuggler's Copter, but that's a little copter. It's not really a boat. That's a good question.
It's an airboat.
Yeah, it's kind of a boat. I just imagine like this in a weird magical world. Maybe you have a little helicopter thing on your boat, but whatever. River's Rebuke's one of my favorites. Oh, Capsize, even though it's not a boat, it's a great boat on the art. So yeah, Capsize.
It's got a boat on the art.
Yeah, Capsize. I always you look at it and go, it doesn't look that impressive. But then I remember the words of Unsummoned Skull, and it's like play an Unsummon exactly.
No, Capsize. I love Capsize. It's in my Crewfix deck because when you generate an infinite amount of mana, you can bounce the whole board.
Oh yeah,
it's just I feel like it's perfectly fine because it's any permanent. And I will always be a fan of being able to turn any permanent to an owner's hand.
And I think that's it. And what I've found, and kind of a big lesson this year, is the sensible stuff really is important in Commander, and that sometimes a surgically precise answer is exactly what you need to completely change a whole board. So, funny story was last night. I had 2 cards in my deck, and I made this happen. It was weird. Someone had a Sir Conrad, I think from their deck, but not mine. It is in my deck, of course, because once you get that whole Nest of Scarabs, Blowfly, Infestation mess happening, Kalidas, whatever, things are hitting the graveyard, and you got to win the game, pretty quickly after that, ideally. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to waste everyone's time. It's time for 4 hours. But Sir Conrad's there. Sir Conrad does damage, and so I only just realized that last night, not loss of life. So I chucked another little weird pet card I love in this deck. I don't know how synergistic it is, but sometimes it's just really funny. Corrupted Conscience, which is a mind control for 5, but it gives the thing infect. So stealing a Sir Conrad off someone and then just ripping a board wipe. I was like, well, ideally that's game because everyone just dies from infect damage.
Yeah, you're going to probably get 10 creatures off of that, right?
Yeah.
That's all you need.
To the point where it was a surprise. I thought, whoa, I thought we had a lot more in this game, but no, I can do it right now. And I got a bit overconfident, and then my opponent just bounced the enchantment. So in response to the board wipe, exactly. So the Sir Conrad went back to their side. I promptly took about 30 damage and spent the rest of the game on nearly full life, and it was an amazing game. But that's a fun one. But exactly, just play unsummons. You need an unsummon or a few of those effects. I think always if you can.
Unsummoned Skull approved.
Yes, exactly. Friend of both of our shows, I think. So yeah,
indeed,
love it.
He's a super chill guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well. You have given us a very good, comprehensive overview of this deck, and I am incredibly thankful for that. But I want you to look in the camera there, right in front of you. And I want you to talk to the viewers who are still paying attention to us. And I want you to tell them why Skeleton Ship could be the next commander for them.
There's nothing better than the feeling of playing either a commander or a card that makes people go, what on earth? Like, what is that? Why are you playing that? Okay, I love to put things in the command zone or play cards where people aren't particularly threatened until it's too late and they go, wow, and I just got beaten by skeleton ship. So you can have that feeling. That's what I thrive off. It's the best. So yeah,
I am totally agree. There was a good chunk of decks I built that were just, okay, which cards, like which guys have less than 100 commanders on EDH rec?
That's one of my golden rules.
I'm going to build Hydar, I'm going to build a Questing Beast, I'm going to build a Femia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
people died with them and they're like, wow.
They were amazing decks.
Power.
I love those. But yeah, exactly. And call me an EDH hipster, but like anything over 1,000, I'm like, I don't really want to. And to the point where I probably pull apart decks after they get that popular because I just want to do something wacky and different. But yeah, good stuff.
No, even I don't care like how popular the commanders, as long as I'm taking an interesting take on it.
Yeah, that's a very good point because you see people doing like, hey, let's do a Traxa something, you know, a Traxa something weird that you'd never seen before, like charge counters or something, you know. I love that. So,
and then you run into the problem like, oh, I'm playing a Traxa. Don't worry, it's not as strong a Traxa, and everybody's like, sure.
Exactly. So that's another point I learned this year is that kind of really like playing on that identity and almost the PR statement in your command zone that it's like there's an identity before the game. And so playing a Jorian polymorph build this year is one of my favorite things I built because Jorian doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Oh my goodness, that one so caught me off guard. It's like, yeah, you can keep attacking me and giving me tokens. That's perfectly fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, Sam's a glutton for punishment until you then have like a 30-minute combo turn where you have infinite big boys.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Just catches you off guard.
Had to put that Terror of the Peaks in there so it just like it wrapped up a bit quicker. It's just like, yeah.
All right, well, let's just say the Jorian deck, that might be a good recruitment office for a future episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Till that point, though, I think you got us a bunch of good information here for skeleton ship potentialitis, potential crewmates, if you would, out there watching this. So, Sam, thank you very much for joining me today. If you want to give one last blurb on where the folks can find you.
Yeah, thanks, Shane, for having me on again, and I'm excited to see the consistent growth of your channel and love to be a part of it and everything. It's amazing. But yeah, you can find the podcast it's basically anywhere at Commander Crunch on the iTunes, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts from. But you can find us on Twitter at CMDR_crunch, on Instagram at CMDR Crunch. So it's just that without the underscore. Also, the website is cmdrcrunch.fireside.fm, and you can find me on the Twitters and Instagrams at PassTheJamSam. But yeah, come join us and hang out. It's always a good time.
No, yeah, it's always fun. Always fun. One last thing I noticed, I don't know if this is intentional, but I'm wearing a blue shirt, you're wearing a black shirt. We're essentially our Demir.
More or less. Mine's like a deep green, and it's an
you got
an MTG Lexicon one because I love those
Lexicon
guys.
Shirt, yeah.
But yeah, no, exactly.
I was playing with Brandon yesterday.
Demir is life.
Right, well,
yeah.
Before the people at home just get lost in our completely irrelevant conversation, thank you all for joining us. Check out Sam. His stuff is fantastic to listen to. Him and Shesh have a really cool thing going on.
Thank you.
It's definitely worth the listen.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you guys again in the future.
Take care, friends.